Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Welcome to Ad Age Remotely. I'm Jeanine Poggi, Senior Editor here at Ad Age, and today I'm live with Horizon Media CEO Bill Koenigsberg. Hey, Bill.
Hey, Jeanine, how are you? Hopefully you are healthy and well as long as the rest of our listeners. Thank you for having me.
Of course, thank you. Yes, everyone is safe over here. How is everyone on your end?
Everyone is good. Fortunately, I'm spending this hunkering down out east with my wife and daughter, and we're doing the best under some very difficult circumstances. And the key part is staying healthy.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe we could get some shots of your beach at some point, right? Your view over there.
Yeah, I'll give you a tour at another time. No problem.
How has it been working remotely?
It's very interesting. For me, I built the company 30 years ago on this business is personal, foundation. And as the company has grown from 1,000 people to 2,000 people to close to 3,000 people, I kind of felt I was getting more distant from our general employee base. And actually, working from home has brought me closer to our employees than I could ever imagine. I do a Bill's daily update for the last 3 weeks every evening, a little inspiration, a little bit of things about what's going on at the agency, some really nice light anecdotes, and just things that I think our people search for and want to know. And I've received hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of emails back from our employees, people who would not normally be interacting with me on a daily basis in this very personal way. So number one, for me, it's actually brought me so much closer. And I've been
Interesting.
looking for an outlet to do that. I certainly wouldn't have asked for a pandemic to
No.
get there. So from that perspective, it's been very, very rewarding.
It's interesting, in a time where we're all separated and talking about distance and being, alone. It's interesting that there are ways now that you can actually heighten the sense of connectiveness and be able to be more in tune with whether it's employees or coworkers or family and friends, even that what the technology has done to sort of bring us, just into each other's living rooms, I guess.
Yeah, it's a very interesting phenomenon. The first piece was, when everybody went home, and I think we closed the office earlier than most other companies. Your first fear was your technology going to hold up? Could not only your employee base work from home, but when the entire country is working home at the same time, what's that going to do to the grid? And number one, I am so incredibly proud of my IT group led by Cliff Cree, who has set us up for incredible success in terms of communicating internally, communicating with our clients, communicating with the industry, and it's working remarkably well. And then, as you said about how connectivity, outside the office, I hate to say this, 2 days ago I attended my first virtual funeral,
Ugh,
and it was obviously quite sad, but the ability to actually do this and connect and actually have a funeral virtually stood out in terms of the current times that we're in, but still, believe it or not, have that intimacy this way was pretty remarkable.
yeah. Well, I'm here with Horizon Media CEO Bill Koenigsberg, and if you have any questions, feel free to leave them on any of our social channels, and we'll try to get to them. So I wanted to start off today. Our agency reporter, Lindsay Rittenhouse, she wrote a piece yesterday looking at how marketers are delaying payments to agencies due to COVID-19. I wanted to get a sense of what you're seeing right now.
So let's first start off that I value my client relationships incredibly, and I'm very proud of our client retention rate. And when you work with a client, it's like a marriage. And in a marriage, you take a vow that you are going to be loyal to them in sickness and in health. And there are certain clients of mine right now that are suffering significantly, clients in the retail, destination, travel, and QSR. And these clients are literally out of business right now. And when you have a situation like that, you have to bend over backwards to help clients with their own cash flow, to work with our media partners to make sure that everybody is on the same page. So yes, we are experiencing situations with certain clients that are having trouble right now in terms of cash flow and paying their bills, and they will be back, and we will work with them and do whatever we can to move mountains to make sure that we're helping them get stronger. So I don't look at it as clients trying to take advantage. I'm very proud of the relationships that we have. There are other clients where everything is, business as usual, and payments are no problem whatsoever. And I think now is the time to continue to build trust in that trust bank with clients, and you work with them as best that you can to make sure that they come back stronger than ever. They've been loyal to me for years. Now's the time for us to be loyal to them as well.
Right. And obviously we're in unusual times right now. There's no real precedent for things like this. But are there policies in place to sort of help to make sure that business goes on as usual, that you guys can continue operating in, as close to business as usual as you can, that your clients can? Like, what are some of the safeguards there that are in place?
Well, let me answer that a couple of ways. I started talking earlier about our systems and technology, and there's nothing that we can't do right now remotely versus in the office. So number one, we're working as efficiently, if not more efficiently, because people aren't taking time out traveling to and from work than ever before. Number two, each client has its own individual nuances in terms of what their current needs are. Obviously, there's a hell of a lot more pressure going on right now because you have to move mountains today instantaneously. So from that perspective, reaction time is critical. But there's no playbook here. There's no, oh, where do I go to the pandemic playbook, and how are you going to work with clients?
Clearly, there's a
I think that,
white space to write that playbook.
yeah, exactly. I think there's not, well, there's going to be some great case studies from what's going on right now. An example is, Burger King, Little Caesars, both clients of mine. We were able to support them right now by helping our employees bring in Burger King for their entire families one night. Another night, we're doing that for Little Caesars for their home delivery service. So we're helping them the best we can. And then Northwell Hospital and Dignity Health, other clients of ours, we're delivering that food, Burger King and Little Caesars, to the frontline health workers. So I think there's ways to pay it forward right now, and you have to continually look for opportunity. Listen, the year is over. It's a write-off. Whatever it's going to be, it's going to be, and everybody has to come together to bring us all out of this as strong as we possibly can.
Absolutely. So I have a few shout outs. We have Tim from Chicago watching, Melania from New York City, Mohammed from Sudan, Sam from Texas, Dan from London, Judith from Ghana, Sergio from Spain, and Michael from Canada. We have a nice global audience today. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in. I am here with Bo Koenigsberg, of course, CEO of Horizon Media. For the agency, obviously an independent agency, how are you guys equipped to adapt to the current environment?
So when you say as an independent agency, how are we equipped? I think first point is, since I'm not publicly held, I don't really care where my numbers come in. My company is 30 years strong. We have a strong balance sheet. We've got loyal clients. I'm able to have a long-term view, as I've always had. Sometimes I look at, some of these startups that have remarkable success overnight. I've never been like that. It's much been more the tortoise and the hare. And I've been a slow growth company for many, many years, and we've shown an incredible trajectory. And I think we're incredibly positioned right now to come out of this strong. I'm very concerned right now about two things: protecting my employees, their health and their well-being and their jobs, and helping my clients get through this crisis so they can come out stronger. So from a perspective of how we prepared, I have the mindset that I really don't care about the quarter or next quarter. I care about next year. I care about my employees' well-being, so they'll be loyal to us and they will be with us for a long time, and we'll come out stronger because of that. And I care about my clients' health, short-term and long-term, and you have to help them short-term to make sure they're here long-term.
How are you guys, sort of working towards that, ensuring, that you can both remain loyal to your employees and that they can remain loyal to you? Of course, we're already starting to see across industries layoffs starting to happen. How are you just looking to make sure you guys, costs in line and, can continue to operate?
So number one is trust, transparency, and communication. And I think, I went back when you and I first started this conversation 10 minutes ago about my business's personal philosophy and culture. And I didn't have to convince our employees to trust our leadership and our management just because of this crisis. I think we had an awful lot of trust in the trust bank to begin with. I talked about my Bill Daily update where I'm communicating basically one-on-one with my employees every day. They know where we are. They know how our clients are doing. They know that my goal is to protect the agencies so that a year from now, we come out stronger than ever. And we've not taken any action yet. We're not going to go with any furloughs. We're not going to go with layoffs. I'm very clear about that. And we're taking this literally, 1 month at a time. I don't think that anybody knows in terms of the environment we're in right now where the bottom is. I don't think that's totally set yet. And we also don't know when we're going to come out of this. So certainly I have to run the company from a financial perspective to make sure we're strong. But I think I have a longer runway to do that with because of our independence and our privately owned status.
Has pitching continued?
Say that one more time.
Has pitching continued? How does the pitch process look like
Yeah,
right
so
now?
that's an interesting one. A lot of clients that started their review process prior to this and had a couple of rounds with potential agencies and were almost down to a final. I think a lot of those clients are finishing out the process because they went through, multiple phases already. From a new pitch process perspective, I think that's pretty much shut down. We have not heard of any. I think it's would not be the wisest decision right now for a client to start one. That chemistry, there is something about that face-to-face connection that you don't have right now. So we would obviously not recommend that whatsoever. And I think some clients that were kind of in the middle, they've delayed decisions and they've delayed the review process a little bit. But in regards to new reviews, from our perspective, it's pretty much shut down. We've not seen anything there.
Gotcha. And this also, of course, comes at an interesting time for the TV ad marketplace. We're just getting into the spring upfronts when the networks, go out to pitch all the agencies and clients to, make commitments for the fall season and all of that. Of course, all the presentations, will be either live streamed or we'll see if those happen. But in terms of deal making that typically, kicks off around Memorial Day and goes through the early summer, what do you expect to happen at this point? It feels like everything we're talking about is operating pretty much in real time or as close to real time as possible right now in terms of advertisers making decisions, which doesn't really work, of course, if you're trying to commit dollars to
Yep.
late 2020, 2021. So what are you sort of, hearing and seeing as it relates to how the upfronts may proceed?
So that's a really great question. And right now, obviously, a lot of talks that are going on the client side, on the agency side, and on the seller side. With regard to the traditional upfront process, this May, June ritual, this dance, these presentations, that's over. Regardless if that has not come out publicly yet, I believe it's over. In a normal year, a lot of clients have no idea what their plans are a year out, and they're pressured to go into this upfront marketplace bazaar in May and June, making commitments for a year out. And a lot of them feel uncomfortable in that environment. In the environment that we're in today, where certain clients don't even know if they're going to be in business 3 months from now or 4 months from now, and don't understand what the economic impact of significant unemployment and how much longer are we going to shut down, what kind of long-term impact and effect that is going to have on their business. It is insane for the seller community, or for that matter, any of my competitors, to believe that it makes sense to go to the normal upfront process. There is some talks right now and significant talks about moving to a calendar upfront, which would be January through December. A decent amount of advertisers actually right now participate in the calendar up front. So from that perspective, that could continue business as usual. But we believe that in this particular year, in this particular environment, with all of the uncertainty that's out there, marketers should be allowed to go into their commitments when they are ready. So we actually are advocating not an organized upfront. I mean, an organized upfront actually, hate to say this, benefits the sellers more than the buyers because the sellers have complete visibility into the marketplace. But put that aside for a second. What really is important is working with marketers to let them get into the marketplace when they have enough intelligence on their business to make educated decisions about spending hundreds of millions of dollars. So we actually are advocating an a la carte upfront
Hmm.
based on when clients are ready.
And it's also interesting, of course, given production cycles right now, there's no live sports on the air. We don't know when a lot of the leagues will actually return. Of course, the hope is the fall, you'll see NFL return and college football and all of that. But then also what shows will even be able to be produced and can air for a new fall season. That's also, a big question mark of what exactly you'd be out there buying at this point.
Yeah, and as it's a big question mark as to whether the leagues are going to come back or not. The question that I have with regard to all of that is, in the NBA, when the NBA canceled their season just now, one player tested positive and they canceled. How are the leagues going to ensure that the players are protected, that the players are comfortable actually coming back on the field in football and basketball and those contact sports? So that's the first question that has to be decided. With regard to the fall season, new shows, obviously the production cycle has significantly been impacted. But let's not forget the TV season has pretty much become a 52-week season. Let's go back to the rituals of the networks presenting all their new shows, in May and June. How many of the shows actually either don't make it into the lineup or get canceled and new shows come in to replace? So I believe that the television industry itself has become much more a 52-week cycle, and we could survive, no rush to judgment in September and October because the production cycles aren't there. TV shows can be produced 52 weeks a year, and they are.
I'm here, of course, with Bill Koenigsberg, CEO of Horizon Media, and we have a question from Baba Jeed. I hope I pronounced that correctly. How do you deal with clients who have decided to withhold payment because of uncertainty?
So we actually do have a few clients that told us that they cannot pay us. And you have to work, number one, you have to work with your media providers to make sure that they understand that that money at this particular point in time can't be passed along. In many cases, we are asking clients, could you give us a payment schedule as to when you can pay us so that we can project our own cash flow and that we can communicate out to our partners in terms of when the money flow is going to happen. And it's a tough situation. That's why you need to have a strong balance sheet so that you can survive something like that. In cases where you can't, then you need to have some serious discussions with your client, and if they are trusting and if they're good partners, potentially you can put them on a payment schedule and they can make partial payments, to help everybody through this. And unfortunately, there isn't a one size fits all. It's got to be dealt with on a client by client specific basis. I have a particular client that is heavily in the destination business. They are completely shut down. They're taking in zero revenue whatsoever right now. You have to figure out a way to work with them. And again, long term, hopefully it will pay out. Fortunately, there are a lot of clients that aren't in that situation and they're able to pay their bills on time, and you're able to run your business accordingly because you certainly have other cash flows coming in, and it enables you to sometimes help the ones that can't pay their bills right now.
So last week there was the announcement, of course, that Cannes was being canceled. What do you make of the decision, and how are refunds working and things like that?
So, my understanding is that so far, and I don't know if I have accurate information here, but I did hear last week that Cannes was not refunding money, which quite surprised me. I think they need to for anybody, now that it's been canceled, they need to refund everybody. I think the other piece is that this is a time for us to rethink Cannes. I've always been a critic that the media community has hijacked Cannes, that it's turned into a meeting bazaar for clients to meet with the media community and not a celebration of creativity and innovation, which is what it was meant to do in the first place. So, one, I think it was smart to completely cancel Cannes because no one's going to be traveling in October as well, or nowhere near what we thought. And number two, I think there's an opportunity to rethink Cannes and what it should be. And I actually think there's going to be a rethink of lots of things based on all the learnings from this current crisis that we're in, how people work from home, how people travel, virtual meetings, e-com focus. So I think everything under the sun is going to be reevaluated based on the current learnings that we're all going through right now.
Yeah, you actually mentioned at the top of this about how a lot of the things, or almost most of the things that you would do in an office, you can do remotely. How do you think that, post pandemic we see the, workforce even changing, or even just from the agency perspective, like what you think some of the long-term changes could end up being due to all of this?
It's interesting. I don't know if I could use the word I'm very excited about what's going on because obviously we're living in a world right now that is a complete crisis and you're concerned for everybody's health. But one of the side effects of what I am excited about is I'm incredibly impressed with the amount of communication and connectivity that at least my company currently has, not only internally but outside with our clients. And I believe from this, we are going to significantly change our work from home policy. Um, we had a fairly lenient policy, but now I believe it's going to become even a lot more lenient. And I think that opens up possibilities from a recruitment standpoint. I no longer have to look in my own backyard where our major hubs are, New York and LA and a couple of places, here in the US. I can hire from anywhere, which opens up the talent pool opportunity. I think I can provide employees who feel better working from home the ability to do that. Obviously, from a rent perspective, agencies' biggest costs are rent and people. So I also think from a rent perspective, you actually can lower your rent costs by having more people work from home. And by the way, if I was able to lower my rent costs, I'd be able to pass those savings on to my clients. And I actually would be able to charge my clients less because my total overhead is less. So I think there are some really interesting opportunities in terms of what we're learning from work from home. I think the other piece is right now, when we do come back, what are the protocols going to be to come back? And I was on a phone call with the White House 2 weeks ago. I was honored to be invited about what more the White House could be doing for businesses. And I did complain about them doing nothing for mid-sized companies, but also about the protocols that are going to be set to ensure that when workers come back, the workspace is secure and safe. And how do we protect workers when they come back? And I believe that we're going to see some state regulations and also potentially some federal guidelines, making sure that our employees are safe when they come back to the workspace. So some interesting times ahead.
Yeah, and I do wonder, the whole work from home policies, if those start changing, if it also opens the doors and, helps in terms of women in the workforce, if it keeps open and keeps more women after they have children in the workforce, if there is more flexibility and companies see that, this can work and people can do their jobs from home, if that helps retain more women.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. And for any company that doesn't see this benefit and what it could mean, they're just not progressive. And unfortunately, I think they're living in yesterday and not tomorrow.
We have a question from Matthew on LinkedIn. Do you think there will be a surge in marketing when clients are ready?
Actually, when the economic shutdown happened, it was like a light switch getting turned off right away. I actually think that it's going to get turned back on with a dimmer. So the dimmer will slowly get brighter and brighter and brighter and brighter. But make no mistake about it, I believe that eventually there will be a surge. There will be this pent up demand. I think that marketing spend is going to come back, but I also think that for certain categories, it's going to come back slower. So I just don't think it's going to be turned on overnight like it was turned off. I think there'll be slow growth. I actually don't anticipate any kind of significant turnaround till late this year, if not early next year. I think that Q3 is going to be as difficult as Q2. Perhaps we'll start to see a little uptick going into the tail end of Q3, and then maybe a little more growth into Q4. And then clients are, building their war chest, hopefully to come out of the gate stronger going into 2021. I don't think anybody has a sense right now as to the total damage that has been inflicted on their businesses, because I don't think anybody knows when the end zone or, when we're going to start to fully come out of this.
Right. We have a comment from Jenny on LinkedIn talking about the whole work from home policies. Great that work from home policy will be relaxed, particularly to retain women leaving the industry to have children and have more flexibility, sort of what we were touching on before. And then from Anne on LinkedIn, what do you see as the future of creativity in this new virtual normal?
Well, number one, from a I believe that creative ideas can be born anywhere. Number one, not just in an office environment. I think that many clients have learned that there are other ways to get production done in this environment other than the traditional production avenues that they've gone down before. I think they're seeing that there are cheaper, faster, better ways to execute from a creative perspective. And I think it's also going to change the dynamics about agencies on the creative side. Now, fortunately, we launched a studio called Blue Hour Studios at the beginning of this year. It started to gain a huge amount of momentum with creative and media coming back together, and now with the shutdown, that's growing obviously a lot slower right now. But an awful lot of clients were inquiring about our studio and how we can get things done in a non-traditional way. So I believe that the creative opportunities are going to become stronger and bigger and more innovative from the non-traditional ways that content is going to be produced in the future.
How are you staying creative while at home? We're talking about all the benefits of working from home, which there are, and in terms of long term, some policies that could change. But also, of course, for some people, it's hard, especially depending upon your living situation, who you're working from home with, who your work from home colleagues are, and all of that. So, how are you sort of handling it and maintaining a sense of creativity while at home?
It's interesting. I actually think I'm hate to say this, but maybe more creative than ever before. Number one, my notes of inspiration, I think each evening to my company, and me digging into quotes from what I believe are people who are really smart, or poets or writers or songwriters that actually feed me inspiration of words of advice and guidance in a time when I think people are looking for that guiding light. And when I'm in the office, I wasn't sending out daily emails to everybody of inspiration. So I actually think my creative um, juices are flowing greater than ever before. I also am thinking differently right now. What does the new agency of the future look like based on the learnings that we're going through right now? How do we creatively set our clients up for future success? And it's, when you're outside that day-to-day office environment where you're being pulled into meetings and on the phone, and you actually have more think time right now, it's opened up all my creative DNA, and I'm actually finding it incredibly inspiring.
Great. Well, thank you everyone for joining us. Bill, of course, thank you, and stay well and be safe.
Jeanine, thank you so much for having me. Everybody out there, Health comes first, money comes second. Keep the balance.
Thank you.